This is the Jade Emperor. We are so excited to be here. It's going to be a crazy show. We have balance.
He's looking at the wrong camera.
We have Yu Huang, brand new god, but we're just going to dive right into balance. This is a huge show. We have a ton of stuff to talk about because this is the nerf patch. That's what I'm talking. Like I'm not joking. It's crazy. There's so many things that are changing.
Where's my hunter buffs?
I mean, AJ, you want to start us off?
I'm already raging.
I do. Thank you. Good to be back in the studio, by the way. Haven't been here in quite a long time.
True.
Haven't done a live show in person in quite a long time.
Can you guys hear okay?
In Smite Land. It's good to see you again. It's going to be so much better than sitting at home all the time and kind of accidentally talking over each other because of latency. Hold on, screen freeze.
You're so right.
Okay, we're back. Okay. So today is a special update. It's not just because
it's actually maxed out
or because of all these fun things that Dandy listed, but this is a very uniquely done update, a complete philosophical change.
It's a big one.
And a massive number of individual changes. So what we are doing today in 9.4, the Jade Emperor update, is a nerf patch, as we're calling it. So we have over 20, or like my final count, excuse me if this is not exactly correct, but 29 total individual gods being nerfed. Every single one.
And they all better be tanks.
37 different items individually nerfed. That is including their glyphs, though. So like Verata 2.
If you nerf my items,
all 4 upgrades.
I swear to God, if a hunter item gets nerfed,
we've seen a lot of community feedback about the overall damage in the game and the pacing in the game. We want to take that seriously. We want to take steps to address it. Today is the big first step towards that. We started with looking at what are the most powerful, most highly prioritized gods in every class and every role, as well as every
role.
And we went through that.
Every role except for hunters.
Taking all of the top picks, all of the top items across every role, every class, and nerfing generally their base damage of one or two of their abilities, or the item power. Right. There are some exceptions, of course. You can go and read this on the patch notes. There's a nice, lengthy explanation of dev notes from me, as well as our scientific method, our process for how we worked through this patch. We know that people wanted changes across many things in the game, but Smite is a collection of individual things, so we had to go through them individually. So if we're going to go through a whole lot of things individually, we might as well have a methodology to it. Start with the most powerful ones, go through every class and every role, make sure we hit the most popular ones, most powerful ones in every role, and apply those nerfs. Let me see if I have anything else in my notes here. I apologize, because there's a lot to keep track of in this patch. I cannot memorize all of it.
It's incredible how much there is.
So generally our methodology was to evaluate the highest pick ban. So we're looking for the most participation from a god or an item. Then we kind of contrasted that with its win rate and its damage output or power value to kind of determine the magnitude of the nerf. We did nerf item power and god damage whenever possible, but there were some exceptions. Sometimes we nerf some self buffs that might contribute to power, or some passives that do bonus damage, etc. There also are some defensive nerfs because we wanted to kind of we wanted to create this shift lower in damage, but we also wanted to bring everything down. So there are a few tank items also getting nerfed. There are also potentially many characters that you might think, oh, this character should have been buffed. Like, I really think this character could have used a buff. No, not in this update.
It's like no buffs, right? Nerf update.
None. So there was some buffs. We would have had some great buffs for, we think. We have some good ideas for them. But the way they're kind of getting buffed is indirectly because all of their competition is theoretically getting nerfed. If they are, competing with the gods.
I'm already slightly disappointed. We'll see, though. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll see.
We got a long list of things to go through, so let's move.
Yeah, that was easy to digest. I'm sure you got all that. If you didn't, the update notes are live now, again, with all this information. So we're going to really rattle through this. There's so much that we have to go through that we're going to block everything off, and we're going to give it to you, give you the highlights of everything. So we're going to start off with some relic changes. So Belt of Frenzy, Greater Belt of Frenzy, Belt of Insatiable Hunger, Belt of the Berserker, Bracer of Radiance, and Greater Bracer of Radiance, along with Bracer of Brilliance, Bracer of Illumination, all getting nerfs. All nerfs all the time. What are the highlights from those?
So these relics are specifically the ones that provide team damage or power buffs.
Yeah.
So
this is good already. Okay.
Total damage output in the
Respectable.
game, particularly late game. But we've even seen recent strategies where people are buying the level 1 Frenzy.
Yeah, popping that clear wave.
So all of these items are being nerfed because of specifically their strong damage output buffs.
Yeah, you doctor.
This is a little bit different from the rest of the methodology, but these relics we felt were significant contributors to the burst damage effect currently
it's maxed out value.
These are just getting nerfed across the board, all of them. We'll be, of course, like all of these items and all of these gods today, we'll be
turn it off.
reviewing the results, the data, the feedback, see how things go after the changes, and see if we need to adjust accordingly.
Right, because we want to make sure that relics are diverse and everyone can kind of choose between the different ones. If this leads to kind of a stale meta for relics, then that's okay. That's a different issue we can address later. This is all about power.
Right.
Yeah, so that's going to be the first block. Next up, we're kind of getting into the general mage area. So we have Rod of Tahuti, Calamitous Rod of Tahuti, Nimble Rod of Tahuti, Divine Ruin, and Spear of Deso.
And Chronos
all getting
Pendant.
nerfed. And Chronos Pendant, you're right. All getting nerfed down. Clumsy, what's with the mage stuff?
Yeah, I think those ones are kind of self-evident. With the Rod of Tahuti, we had the new glyphs coming into them. Obviously,
imagine they start listing hunter items nerfed.
Power item. But then again, as you guys have talked about and as we've seen, some of these pen items, specifically Spear of Desolation and Divine Ruin, have not only had their flat pen, depending on how much we're at the moment, but they've also increased in power over time. So here we are decreasing all of that. Chronos Pendant, as well as maybe you don't see it as often in the high-level ranked, but it is extremely popular, and already over time it's gained power. So we're bringing all of that down. The top end for mage items all being reduced in their power.
Chronos Pendant is the most purchased magical item in the game.
Yep.
That's good. Thank you.
Number 1.
Yeah. So that's not all for mages. For those mages that like to move quickly and attack quickly, we also have Telkine's Ring and Ring of Hecate also getting nerfed, just like everything else. So AJ, what's with the rings?
Yeah, smaller section here. Mage ADCs are not necessarily a big concern right now, but they do have very high damage output. They were very meta only a short time ago. We wanted to go ahead and take some top end of stats off of their items as well. Again, this patch, we're hitting everything.
Everything.
How can you hit hunters? We're in the bottom already.
Are going to get nerfed too hard or not hard enough. That's okay. That's reasonable. We're looking forward to that feedback, but we're gonna learn and act on that in the future. But for today, we're going all over the game. So Mage ADC is also getting some nerfs, and again, Hunters will be getting them as well. So just because they're both getting nerfed, we'll see. Maybe Mage ADCs end up coming back because their competition gets nerfed.
Yeah. Again, nerf central. We are everything that we read here. It's going to be a nerf. We're bringing it all down.
And we only hit those 2 rings, of course. But if we looked, we did talk about other mage itemization, and there's a very high chance that mage ADCs are going to be purchasing into one of the flat pen options or Nimble Rod of Tahuti, for example. So they're getting hit in multiple places.
Yeah. And again,
did I just hear hunters are getting nerfed?
We're doing this. We're going to see how it turns out, and we're going to keep going. We're going to make this. We're going to take y'all's feedback and do everything we can with it. So next up, we have kind of a warrior block. We have Caduceus Shield, Breastplate of Valor, Breastplate of Determination, as well as Breastplate of Vigilance, Ancile, Mystical Mail, Bulwark of Hope, and Hide of the Nemean Lion. So a bunch of warrior items getting touched as well. And if you want to get into that, Clumsy.
Yeah, so we kind of have 2 or 3 things going on here. We have a couple of these warrior items that are a little bit of the hybrid ones that provide different stats and a little bit of power. Maybe more power than you'd expect. So again, going alongside with the patch, we're bringing that power a little bit lower. Now then there's the breastplates. Breastplates are going to be losing some of the physical protection.
Wait, Ancile had 50 power?
But they gained a lot of value with the glyphs. Breastplate is one of the most popular glyphs.
Disgusting.
Obviously
Nerf.
with 2 ones, Determination and Vigilance. So we've been bringing down how strong they are based on their physical protections is going to make them slightly less valuable, right? We might see a little bit less of them, but we're still happy with Breastplate as a whole.
Right.
Mystical Mail is going to be getting a change to its passive,
change.
which is effectively still damage across the board for the
damage
player
adds
picking
up.
it up. Yep, it absolutely adds up. And you've seen us nerf Mystical Mail and adjust it before. We're going to be keeping an eye on that one to make sure it's still okay. Bulwark of Hope and other items like that, similar to Breastplate, as we talked about earlier, power needs to come down, but we need to make sure that the top end of protections is also coming down a little bit. It's really bringing the the top end for everyone down, because if we just did power everywhere and we didn't touch protections, we're going to probably lead ourselves into a tank.
We are nerfing power more than protections.
Yes, we are, absolutely. Yeah. But we're very well aware that we need to make sure that we don't just run around with these protection items just being the meta, right? Everyone's just picking up protection items no matter
And this
what.
hide change is real spicy.
And the hide change is the last one, which is something that you might not have seen coming, but from the higher level plays, we have...
You're not getting any points with Hunter players by saying that, right?
And yes, they are. The new hide change, you may not have gotten a chance to play around with it that much, but getting 3 full block stacks,
this
I guess we have to
this
call
is a nice...
partial versus full or some sort of terminology.
Decent
soft
change.
block stacks. We now have a new way of changing how much you're getting the efficacy of a block stack, right? Previously, you'd be reducing a full amount of a basic attack. Now you're getting a partial reduction.
Yeah, so entirely new tech that we could apply elsewhere too.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you guys like it, if this is useful, maybe we need to buff hide in case this was too heavy a nerf, because previously it was binary.
No
you got full block
no
stack,
such thing as too heavy a
now
nerf of this dumb item.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible how changing things like this can give us new tech, and we're like, wow, there's a whole other opportunity for us to change other items in the future. So really exciting stuff. Next up, we're getting into those scary jungle assassins, keeping them from being, as one-hit potential as sometimes they can feel. And we're doing that by touching the Crusher, Hydra's Lament, Jotun's Wrath, Jotun's Ferocity, Jotun's Vigor, and Serrated Edge. So
why the attack
kind of
speed,
flex
bro?
item. Obviously, we're
Why
seeing a
the
lot of
attack
hunters as
speed?
well right now. We
Oh,
had to put it
why
somewhere,
the attack speed?
in the list of
Anything
things.
else?
That attack speed nerf is going to be actually targeting hunters a good bit as well.
No shit,
but
Sherlock.
It's going to affect
Oh
junglers
my
for sure. Hydra's
God.
Lament has recently got a big change earlier this season,
right,
so it's a lot
whatever.
more popular
No
now.
shit, that's
bringing
targeting
that total bonus
hunters,
damage
bro.
down. Jotun's Wrath,
Oh
similar
my
thoughts as other
goodness,
glyphs. It got new
dude.
glyphs, and so therefore it got some new power, bringing it down. And a Serrated Edge is just like kind of the like catch-all jungler item right now. Power, pen, a lot of things going for it. Movement speed, so we're bringing just the base power down across the base and the passive. So when that all
You know what the
stacks
problem
up,
is,
you
chat?
get,
Since this patch is all
total
nerfs,
power?
there's
No,
no
1,
saving
2, 4,
grace.
6.
You know what I mean? There's no like, something
power
later
even off
on is
that
going to
item,
help
so
me out.
Pretty significant nerf there. A little less total.
There's no
jungler
buffs in this
items.
patch.
We did see in a
Holy
lot of our
smokes, why
data and
do I-
feedback
oh.
that junglers from season 8 to 9 had smaller damage spikes than other classes, and also were often described as being a little bit behind in the total map farm. So junglers maybe got a little bit lighter nerfs here in the itemization, but as we said, still everybody getting nerfs, so they still got some, and we still nerfed what we identified as their most prevalent items.
Yeah, and that, again, that's the thing. Even if it's like, well, they're not the most powerful, but they're still all right. Or like we wanted to touch everything. We want to make everything feel a little more sane, I guess, would be a good way to say it.
Hunters feel
So,
sane,
yeah,
believe
some
me.
of those damage items. Some
We
of the
don't
top
do
damage
anything.
items for them, down just a little bit. Next up, we're going into the Hunter world. So for Hunters, we have Aussie, Atalanta's Bow, Wind Demon, Deathbringer, Envenomed Deathbringer, and Malicious Deathbringer.
That's too
all
many
of those getting
items.
touched as
Smite.
well. Clumsy, you
How
want to
you
talk
are
about that?
balanced.
Yeah, Hunters are in a similar vein, but there's also a lot of cross-optimization like we talked about between the
of
Crusher. I mean,
course.
even Hydra's Lament, we're seeing on a couple of these Hunters as well, Jotuns too. Deathbringer is a similar case with a lot of these glyph items. In fact, you might have seen a lot of these actually being targeted because they were probably a little bit too strong on their top end. You know, we chose items that were probably going to be prevalent in a lot of these builds. Deathbringer, Envenomed Deathbringer specifically is, they're all quite strong. So keep an eye on
Swim Demon
there might
nerf
be
is
further
not
nerfs,
that
there
bad,
too.
at least.
But we also wanted to make sure that we keep an eye on how the Hunters builds are playing out right now. In fact, you might even see that they're
Keep
not
an eye, we've been
extremely
building the
high
same
power
thing!
Focus. There are a lot of utility stats. There's a lot of lifesteal, there's a lot of attack speed, so we wanted to focus some of those. Aussie and Atlanta's and Wind Demon, those are three extremely
All right,
popular item builds right now for Hunters.
'Cause we got nothing else,
those
Clumsy.
ones
'Cause we
definitely
got-
need to go down in their
'cause we
stats.
got
But if you
nothing
actually
else.
look at them individually, they don't have that much power themselves. It's the different efficiencies that they provide to the Hunter. So that's why we
got
address
nothing
them in
else.
different ways.
That's
the
why
Wind Demon, as a
those
passive
are
duration,
highly
you
bought.
can see that's power coming off it in a different way.
At
Aussie
least
and
this is
Atlanta's
not
going
a
with
lot
the
of
lifesteal and
power.
attacking
At least
it.
it's not a
power
lot of
the Hunter
power.
in a different mechanism. But Deathbringer, one of the core luxury items, absolutely we can just take the physical power off straight from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so many things we've gone over, so many. We're moving into now the block that makes me the most sad because I am a Guardian lover. Guardian items, because obviously there's a lot of good Guardian items as well. We're going to bring the power down. We want to bring everything down just a little bit so that we don't see, like they said, kind of that Guardian spike. Don't want to be constantly steamrolled in lane by Atlas, which is what I would do if I could. So we're going to see Pridwin, Sovereignty, Heartward Amulet, Amulet of Silence, Amulet of Stronghold, Celestial Legion Helm, Vamp Shroud, and the Mantle of Discord, all getting touched from the Guardian role.
So there's a few different sub-archetypes within this. So Pridewind, probably one of the most meta items. This shield also translates to the explosion damage, so this is a nerf on both regards, which is really good. Sovereignty and Heartward just taking small shaves of physical or magical protection.
Almost
Devo,
a
I'm
year.
going
as part
Devo
of
Glass
our
after this
overall
patch
net
for
decrease.
sure.
And again, they're taking
They
smaller
just destroyed
nerfs
all the
than most
attack
of the other
speed
builds
on
that
fucking
aggressive classes are.
on Crusher.
Celestial
Aussie.
Legion Helm and
They
Vamp Shroud
destroyed
are more
all the
specifically
attack
solo
speed.
lane Guardian.
They nerfed the attack speed on
items, and
Crusher
those do
Aussie.
have power that
Crusher now
matters.
only has
yeah.
10%
Those are
attack speed,
getting
and
power
Aussie
nerfed,
has.
both of
Actually, they
which
nerfed the
should be
lifesteal on
pretty significant
Aussie.
because we're seeing solo lane.
They nerfed the
Guardians
lifesteal to
be pretty prevalent
15%,
right now. So
just
the
so
Vamp
bad.
Shroud specifically is a pretty big nerf to a starter item. 10 power off of a starter item is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So hoping to bring a little bit more balance back between Guardians and Warriors in the solo lane, as well as just decrease that Guardian damage. Mantle of Discord is something that's good for everyone, so also a good one to nerf. Of
course.
That item just brings a lot of powerful effects to it. So I think it's about time it got this nerf anyway.
Yeah, and the interesting there, I think that AJ touched upon, is that Vamp Shroud is one of the only starters that we're looking at right now. But I think that's something that's been really important to see, especially in the high level, right? We've had a couple of weeks of SPL play, and we're seeing Guardians kind of dominating. Vamp Shroud, we know, is really, really a heavy hitter for them, and they're getting that right off the bat. Because a lot of these other power changes we wanted to make sure would address, kind of the mid to late game. This one was very, very early game focused, and this might be a problem for like Vamp Shroud for maybe the other laners who want to pick this up for like mid mages, but that's something we can address at a later time. We wanted to make sure not to stifle what's going on in like the higher level scene too.
Well, I think a really important thing here to note is that this was a new process for us.
Yes,
very new.
Very.
We are 100% open to continuing this in the future updates.
Oh yeah.
So one of the things, like Clumsy mentioned, this is the only starter item. We have been looking at starter items. We are open to nerfing starter items in the next update if we need to, if we feel like that's necessary as well. There's also conquest changes, which we're going to get into a little bit here. But our next update after this, the 9.5 update, is going to be a true conquest update.
Yeah.
With specific changes, map art changes, and mechanic changes to conquest. So going to handle a lot more things there. So as we're wrapping up on our items,
the only saving grace
to get that plug in
for this so
this
far is just
we will keep
all,
moving
like
towards
all
it.
the tank items are getting
if
nerfed,
everyone
which
loves
is
this and wants more of it, we'll consider doing more of it. If, if we and we're
Wait, was
gonna
that
see,
it?
It's going to be really hard to predict what
It
this
is
creates,
very
right?
much
We have a lot of a lot of our betting pool predictions internally about what's going to be good, and what's not going to be good.
I'm probably going to build
interested to
devos.
see where we were right and where we weren't, and we'll react accordingly. So we do have one more item, not part of the nerf patch. This is a rework.
Yeah.
This is a rework for quality of life and functional purposes. We've been wanting to make this item just feel better to use. This is something we had working on in the background. It required some engineering tasks, and as we got it complete, we still wanted to go ahead and ship it, but we did ship it with a nerf, so it is a shift.
Yeah.
So not necessarily a net buff. It is a net damage decrease, but this Archmage's gem now is only going to proc and remove the stack if you successfully damage an enemy god. So no more will a random lane minion steal your bonus damage proc away.
Yeah.
From
Keep in mind, this is the upgrade to the starter. This is not Conduit Gem, the starter itself. That's functioning the same way where it's going to be hitting minions too.
Correct. This is this is the level 20 required upgrade.
You
So,
saw the
very much
Atalantis
work
for
towards
Chin
as
size.
you get into this. So that's going to kill off all the items. That's a lot of nerfs we just went through. Obviously, we have the gods we still have to talk about, but I'm just going to reiterate what they said already. We said this last update notes or show. And we're listening to y'all. If there's something
Are
that
you?
want to be changed,
Are you
share
listening?
that feedback. Let us know. Drop it places. We're always looking for it. That's what makes this. We're always willing to try new things, and hopefully you can.
They're
see that
listening
with
to
this,
our Hunter cries
crazy.
for
So we're moving
a
into
year
gods
now?
and again, a lot of nerfs. Everything you're going to see is a nerf. You can check the update notes for this, but we're starting with Tiamat. So Primordial Onslaught getting a little bit of a reduction.
We wanted to touch on one more feature.
Oh, that's true.
Before we move into gods.
A big one. This is exciting too.
No, they had to nerf us even more.
So actually, another, I guess, nerf buff. It's a buff to diminishing returns, a nerf to a lot of other things. I'll let AJ talk about
To
it.
keep
doing
it
a
fair,
buff
though, they
to
did nerf
diminishing
a bunch of
returns, which
prod
would mean
items.
A net nerf to CC.
So we'll see
Exactly.
how it goes.
Yeah.
But still,
what we're doing
it is
that,
disappointing to say the
so
least.
quick reminder, if you do get hit by a hard CC in Smite, you get
It also
a
tilts me
invisible
that
stack
when
of
they
diminishing
nerf
returns
Crusher,
flying you,
it tilts
which
me that when they
lasts
nerf
for
Crusher,
15
they
seconds.
nerf
It's
the
relatively
Hunter
long.
part of the
And that
item.
means
Like,
the next CC you're hit by 33% less.
and they want to know why we
We're gonna
build
be buffing
Crushers
that
because
up
we
to
got
40%
nothing
less
else, man.
effective. So
Nothing else that's
getting
good.
chain CC'd is going to be less
You know what I mean?
effective.
They're like,
Also,
oh,
there's a
these items are getting
floor
built so much.
that
Yeah,
which
because there's
means
literally
max
nothing
reduction.
else to build.
Currently, you could reduce CCs down to
Everything else
0.5
is
seconds
shit.
from this effect. We're now going to let you reduce it down to 0.4 seconds. If the CC is already lower than that, it's not affected by this rule. But so in both of those cases, CC is getting nerfed. That does not affect roots and knockups. Knockups have their own knockup height that is not affected by DR, but does apply DR for future things. And roots are not categorized into hard CC in Smite because you can dash and leap out of them. So those
CC
will not be
chains
affected
are-
by this. So potentially,
I mean, you can just
root
mix
and
and match
knockup characters might be a
CCs.
little stronger because
Stun
everyone
into
else's
knockup.
CC is getting nerfed. Also, things that are channeled or grabs or pulls like that
DR
are
is
also
diminishing
not going to
returns.
be changed by
Yeah.
this. But they do a lot of those do apply diminishing returns. So big CC nerf, effectively game wide, and just another note that we will be reviewing the feedback from this, and we will be open to making more changes to this rule set in the future.
Yeah, hopefully,
and
Shady.
again, all
That's a
outlined
good point.
in the update notes, but a super important change because again, like we're touching everything. That rule touches so many different reactions or interactions and characteristics within the game.
But I just,
that we're
what
excited to
pisses
see
me
how it
off
plays
is
out
that
and
they
excited to see what
nerfed our
change,
meta build.
This prompts and what
You know what I'm
reaction it
saying?
prompts from y'all, the community. So.
Now
Like,
we can
they
talk
nerfed
about
our
we can
core
talk about
items.
Well, 28 today because I counted.
Which
Shiva
aren't
and
even
Vesta
OP at all.
Yeah.
They nerfed our
28
Crusher
individual god
Aussie,
nerfs today.
which are not
So
even
mages.
close
try
to being OP.
We're going to be a little quick just because otherwise we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
No one's complaining about Crusher Aussie start, bro. We're still doing no damage.
As well as the community team. I think Lermy's planning on
You know
doing
what I
a
mean?
Q&A stream later today or tomorrow. Tonight.
Today.
So if you want to ask for more follow-up questions for more details on some of these, because we're going a little fast today, just so we're not here all day. But
I thought they were
So, yeah,
nerfing
Tiamat
power,
was
so
the
why
first
didn't they
girl
nerf
to
power
Tiamat,
on
Primordial
Crusher?
Onslaught.
They nerfed attack speed because they
this
hate
is
hunters.
her charge-up multi-fire projectile.
Yeah.
This is kind of her
AO1.
core damaging ability. And this ability can really chunk.
Yeah.
Especially in the late game. The numbers don't look all that crazy when you look at them, but when you can get hit by multiple effects and those stacking with other triggers, like this ability hits hard.
Yeah, because you're obviously getting like every time she ranks us up, you're getting multiple projectiles that can fire, because in the early ranks it's only 2 projectiles. Later on, you're increasing the number of projectiles. So it's just stacking on itself. Then there's a subsequent damage reduction, and based off this, you're gonna have to trust us that the numbers hopefully will add up to surmountable nerf for Tiamat.
The Tiamat's maybe a little bit lower in the meta than a couple of other gods we mentioned, but as we were mentioning, we're trying to nerf like the top 4, 5, 6 gods in every class, every role. So that's getting the top picks, and then even some of the picks that some of you might still perceive as kind of middle tier or like top of the mid tier, but you know, they're on the list still. It's happening.
Yeah.
The next god is very powerful right now, so
and that would be
nerf is ready for
Imagine it's
it's
a hunter.
It's a good time for this one. You kind of hammer on the nail.
This god's very powerful right now.
Getting decreased
Agni,
power
very powerful.
and
Seems like you hear
scaling
this?
across both combustion and rain fire. So want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Agni's kit, he obviously, after the changes we made to him recently, he kind of shot up in both popularity and damage. And
Imagine
that's
they
with us the
mentioned
extra
100,
damage,
this god's
the
very
stun and the
powerful right
Noctis
now.
Fume proc. If you actually have a look at the numbers,
Although I
combustion
wouldn't
does a whole
mind
bunch
a
of
Medusa
damage.
nerf.
So
That god
reducing
is
some of the scaling on that one,
dumb.
which is his passive ability, right? Which is just something he's getting on top of his other abilities, was kind of a no-brainer. And then the other one that hits quite hard, with a little bit of variance involved, is his ultimate, right? If you're going to hit by 3 different shots of rain fire,
That's the
you're
only
gonna hit
100
by a
that
lot of
needs a
damage.
nerf.
So this change here is going to be
Medusa.
honestly stacking depending on how many hits you're going to be affected by with rain fire.
Yeah, and all good changes, because constant damage being put up by Agni is insane, and being immediately blown up by the fire.
I mean,
And he's a
also,
bit of
I mean, the
artillery
Crusher,
mage as well,
the
so he can
Crusher
do some of this
Aussie
range
nerfs
if he wants to, which
are
makes
an
it,
indirect
safer
nerf
nerf.
to Medusa.
So
when you think
good
about
stuff
it.
to see. Next up, Persephone also getting some damage reduction.
But
and,
Medusa
a
doesn't
chance
really
to
care
grasp
about
the
the
death.
attack speed that much, because she has her
She's getting
one.
magical power scaling decreases on all of her effects from the harvest ability, so the plants, both the initial nuke and the follow-up bite. And then Grasp of Death is no longer going to apply attack speed reduction, which can make it much easier to break out of it. So effectively a CC
Yeah, it's
nerf.
only
on this
nerfs.
ability that
Only nerfs.
Doesn't really have any easy
Nerf
durations to nerf. It's all very it's all part of a very
Yeah.
scripted presentation. But now you'll be able to break out of it more easily if you get trapped in that cage, which I think will be a nice way of counterplaying Persephone.
Unless you're me and you panic and try to run away because you're like, I just want to run away. Never works, always die. Next up, Soul getting touched a little bit on some damage as well. Stellar Burst and Supernova. I mean, less fire in the game, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We've got Agni and Soul changes. Soul is one of those ADC mages that's probably doing the best right now.
Fair enough.
She can play mid lane very well
She's
too.
been playing
Yeah.
mid lane. She's obviously we've seen Zapman doing really well on the dual lane as well. Hitting her Stellar Burst is something, her main poke tool as well as her main wave harass tool. And Supernova was kind of a no-brainer as well with that ultimate damage. It's going to have.
I'll let this nerf slide since
the first hit's going
he
to be the most
mentioned me.
important. So hitting that on the top end and scaling is going to be a pretty big chunk.
Indeed it will. And again, yeah, just less fire in the game, less chances for me to randomly be burned to a crisp. Next up, Scary Bird getting touched a little bit. Thoth, Hieroglyph Assault, and Final Judgment both seeing a little bit of decrease.
Yeah, Mage pen buffs brought this god back real full force. He's still a very high skill god, so you don't see him as much in casual play.
Yeah.
You do see him a lot in high end play and ranked play. He can do quite a bit of damage from long range, right? You got to hit all your abilities, but if you do, he does quite a lot.
I mean, one thing you do have to realize is that,
as I said, a lot of these changes pretty formulaic. We're looking
especially
at
those that
core
watch me a lot,
damaging
is
abilities of the top
that
characters and nerfing
my
their basic
games
scaling.
and my
Mages, we
complaints
targeted
aren't.
scaling a little bit more, and then some of them
Yeah.
base because Mage end game damage is very high.
I
And we've
don't
already seen
represent the
Mages, because of
whole
the flat pen nerfs
community or
again,
the whole
fall behind a little
range
bit in the early
of
games. We're
games.
seeing Hunters come back to
You know
the
what I
lane a
mean?
little bit, so you see
There's
a
a-
little bit more scaling nerfs on Mages
This
than
is,
some other
you
classes.
know, when I
but
play it's on the
Thoth,
high
all
end,
in
and
all,
that
this
represents
guy
like
nukes,
1%
this guy
of the
shreds,
of the
so he's
base.
getting nerfed.
Yeah, he can also
So
see the
there's
future.
could be a
because
lot
the
of
scream
things
he does with
happening
his
in
ult is usually
casuals.
The scream I do after he's told me his ult.
Lower rank
So
queues,
Zeus up next, also
other
getting
game modes.
some nerfs. Crazy,
You know what I
that you
mean?
Didn't guess that.
Top god in the
They
meta
have to
right
take
now.
all that
Zeus
into
sucks.
account.
Zeus is a horror, dude. I love him though.
Just to be
honestly,
fair
going
to
into
them.
arena, throwing that ult, minty.
Is that aggro crying? I think. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
true. Why do you think he's
so
not
far?
here? Because
I'm very
He
disappointed.
said he
in
could
the
only
nerfs.
present one Zeus nerf in a patch, right?
Yeah. I like
the other nerfs,
Second one in a row, I believe.
Yeah,
Couldn't make
he's
him do
recovering.
damage.
from-
It's just that.
It's Zeus heartbreak. He's recovering.
But I mean,
from.
I think
wanna see what
everyone
gods
is
get
aware that
nerfed,
Zeus
though.
needs some nerfs right now, which is crazy because he's not only good in other game modes, but he's finally successful
see.
in Conquest.
Yeah.
We've given some time to shine, but in the nerfing patch, Zeus is not going to be exempt. So hitting his main
wouldn't
two
say all the
damaging
time,
abilities,
Colin.
Chain Lightning and Detonate. We've hit some of these before, but further hits on that. And I think the important one is we're also decreasing the slow on Chain Lightning as well.
Another
So
CC
a little bit of that CC nerf coming in. 30% to 20%. That's still going to be. That's a pretty sizable. You'll feel it for sure.
Yeah.
We usually
yeah.
don't go that much lower than 20% on a lot of these abilities.
All good stuff, though. So we're kind of rotating away from the mages now. We're going towards Achilles, as well, getting some nerfs. I feel like that doesn't even bear repeating. Gift of the Gods and Shield of Achilles both getting touched on, getting a little downgraded.
Right, he gets a lot of free stats from his passives, either
does.
protection or power, so both of those coming down. Specifically, we're a little more concerned about power. We hit them both just to make sure one didn't quite take over the other. And then Shield of Achilles, his primary damaging ability, we are decreasing the long-range damage. You might be looking at this and you might read it as a scaling change, but it is more significant than that, because this actually gives his distant targeter a 5% nerf overall.
His
to its
protections
base
bonus
speed.
from
So
2 to
it's
1.5.
actually a pretty significant buff, or nerf,
1.5.
to the long range.
It's a chat. Anytime I see a warrior get nerfed, I'm all for
it will still be the same.
broken character, broken class.
Through that. Said the word buff, threw me out, dude. I'm totally out of whack.
I know. I don't know why I would accidentally say a word like that today when there's just no reason.
They haven't gone to the
nerf
Guardians
it?
yet,
I
Ronnie.
know.
Well, I said that some characters are
They
getting
did the
buffed
mages,
in a
now they're
way
doing the
that
warriors,
their
I believe.
composition is getting nerfed. Like, I always call every Hide of Nemean Lion nerf a hunter buff.
Sure. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, you're slashing the tires.
How about a real
with
hunter
Lightning
buff?
Lion.
Thanks.
So next up we have Chaac, horrifying giant axe lightning man. Rain Dance and Storm Call, both seeing nerfs. So what are those?
Yeah, so we hit one
Chaac
Storm God,
getting
we
nerfed.
thought we'd hit the other. No.
Yeah.
So this one's actually a little bit different, right? Because one of the
hilarious.
things that we wanted to keep in mind of is we wanted to hit power and a lot of these gods that are contributing a lot of power to the game. We hit items too. Another thing we want to look at who's just performing quite well and who's high popularity. And Chaac is absolutely one of those. Maybe you're not seeing him in the ranked as much as or in the SPL that much, but he is very high up there in the stats. We wanted to make sure we looked at this systematically, right? Statistically, and that was he was part of that discussion. We didn't want to miss him on that case.
You're
So
right,
Chaac, he
Chaac's
didn't.
OP.
We also have to look
Chaac's OP.
at the damage that he provides. We're also hitting warrior itemization, and we noticed that Chaac's strengths aren't really in that. What we did notice is that obviously his ultimate has a lower than normal cooldown, so we brought that in line. I thought that would be pretty fair.
Right.
And his healing tick is actually pretty insane. So much so that Chaacs are building Transcendence, and that is not a troll pick in the solo lane. That is contributing to his damage, but as well as to the crazy amount of scaling that the healing provides. So this was an easy nerf for Chaac there.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I love that sustain in lane. It's one of the reasons that Chaac has definitely been kind of a go-to for me. So it makes sense to see it go, much as I like it. Next up, the Dropkick King Gilgamesh, also seeing some nerfs. Sunforged Scimitar wins with Shamash.
This guy needs
This makes
nerfs.
sense. I've seen a lot of him in my recent games, at least kicking me
His
into
base
or through
buff duration
walls
for
and
that's
stuff,
a big change.
I mean,
The
what is he
duration of
gonna
his one.
imply?
That's a
Yeah,
big
this
change.
god is still very powerful. We've seen him flex well into the jungle as
Respect
well.
buff duration.
Decreasing the duration as well as the bonus damage scaling for health on Sunforged Scimitar is going to just bring down his total
bonus
damage
damage
quite a
duration.
bit. That
Yeah,
ability
yeah.
is probably
That's a
his
very
main-
good nerf.
or certainly his
That's a
main
very good
damage
nerf.
output. It lasts very long. You can extend the
Wins with
duration.
Shamash,
Just having
decreased
basic
binding
attacks
damage,
that
doesn't
follow
power
up for a lot of
scan,
damage after your
decreased
abilities is
swing
really powerful.
Okay,
on the warrior.
I mean, that
So
nerfs him in the
bringing
jungle,
that down
but,
quite a
I
bit
mean,
in multiple different ways.
you don't really
And the
build
Winter
him
Smash's
with,
ultimate
damage
already
anyway.
had pretty high scalings as well.
Yeah.
So that specifically going to be hitting the jungle Gilgamesh is going to be building a little bit more power. Won't be able to secure the kills as easily with that ultimate. Really, trying to
this
just
was
push
a
it
good
more
Gilgamesh
towards a
nerf.
zoning
Solid-
control
solid
ultimate
nerf,
and
solid
less towards
nerf.
a big AoE nuke.
Yeah, that makes sense. Lots of sand in the eyes with that one. Mulan up next. Another character that I love to see. Great abilities, but I get it. The damage has been crazy. The
Mulan.
solo lane fights have been hard to deal with. So cross strike and spear thrust.
Gil
both
can
kind
wave
of
you backline. He
dropping
can
down
now.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's
Sick
almost
god.
like a Wood Yerween kind of thing, just because like previously Mulan was one that we've been struggling to buff constantly. We've
Yeah.
had people saying like, okay, where's Mulan? All right, where's Mulan? Well, here Mulan is, and Mulan's definitely doing quite strong statistically. So I think everyone's pretty happy to see some nerfs here. We're going to be hitting two of our most damaging abilities.
I'm
with
happy to
Cross-Strike
see a
and
warrior
Spear Thrust.
nerf
Spear Thrust is
at
also
any-
an interesting
anytime.
one because you can hit, especially
Fire,
when it's
thank
leveled up,
you.
is you can hit a target twice. And individually, the Spear Thrust damage isn't actually that impressive. It's when you hit targets multiple times with it. So we targeted specifically
Hey, really,
the bonus
Shinto?
damage on hitting the same target twice with Spear Thrust, because that's an easy way of saying like, hey, if you get hit by once, it's not a lot of damage. That doesn't need the nerf. You get hit twice, which feels like a lot of damage. That's where the nerf is coming in.
Yeah, and a good place to see it. So up next, Shiva, done a whole lot of good since they hit the battleground. I mean, crazy amount of new plays. It's been fun watching all the highlights that have to do with this new god. But I mean, just
Oh,
like
you
everybody
can
else,
stun
the
him
nerf is
now.
needed because a lot of power out of this one. So it looks like Pillar of Dawn having a bit of a change to
crap.
the way it handles CC.
Yeah, Clumsy, you want to take this one?
Yeah,
That's a
sure.
nice nerf.
So we've hit a lot of we've heard a lot of discussion of how strong Shiva is, and we've hit him a lot in different places. We hit him as well in the bonus patch, which already went live. He's a warrior that's quite strong. He's a little bit resistant to nerfs.
He's
I
a
think that's
warrior,
A little bit
full
obvious to
stop.
I haven't
say.
seen much pro play for him though.
And yeah, and it's also
Full
pretty
stop.
unique because He's probably performing, there's no probably about it, he is performing way better in casual game modes than he is in the high-level ranks and in pro play.
He's just a broken class, that's why he's a warrior.
After being allowed in, and he showed up twice in the jungle, performing well, I believe, in one of the games, as well as in the support lane. Not quite in the warrior lane, which is previously why we've been hitting a lot of his scaling. We did have the bonus balance nerf that went in, and one thing that you guys wanted to see a lot was some way of, locking him down a little bit more. So we introduced a new rule here for Shiva, which is that his Pillar of Dawn, which has previously been CC immune, is still CC immune except for stuns. You can now counterplay him and break him out of the ability by using a stun on him. It's something that we don't do
Pillar
often.
of Dawn is his 3, isn't it?
Felt thematic, because it would feel weird if he was still knock-upable, if he could still slip and slide on Scotty, but being a stun, that's something very intentional there, whether we felt that was appropriate. We're also obviously open to
they
nerfing
saw
more
your
if necessary.
Shiva last week and they nerfed.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as we continue to say, we're always up for listening to feedback. So we'll be interested to see how people work this new change into how they play this god and see how it pans out in the battleground. Next up, Bellona, as featured directly before us on the table.
Nerf this
getting,
god to the
nerfed
ground.
To shield bash and bludgeon. So again, just bringing some stats down, AJ.
Yeah, Bellona's come back big time, which is cool. We haven't seen her in quite a while, but she's
Ajax
doing
so happy
really well
Bellona's
right
back, bro.
now.
Warrior
Shield Bash
gamer.
has a uncharacteristically high slow, I'd say. Generally, we don't put slows at 35%. Like, that's high for a warrior. So shifting that down at all ranks, and then bludgeon spin damage. Now, this is the initial warm-up damage. This is still a 10 damage base damage nerf, which is very similar to what we might do on many different abilities. But this is the part that is generally more confirmable, hits more of the wave. So this is going to take down more damage quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
So that's kind of the warrior section.
Not enough.
Now we're kind of rotating into assassin. So again, the scary jungle jumpers that are leaping out and murdering me at level 2. And Camazotz is the first on the list. Hurts a little bit because I love Camazotz.
Get this dumb god out of the meta, dude. I hate this god.
It's awesome and great to get away with. So
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there, right? Yeah. You can get away with it. You can use it to safely attack enemies while up in the air where they can't really answer. We made the quality of life changes previously, and we've had to nerf him since. We're still seeing that he's quite strong, so kind of reducing the top end of this damage a little bit more. Remember, it's going to be he has 3 different hits, so some of these numbers may look small by themselves, but you're now to stack them up.
20 damage times 3. That's a big nerf.
Yep. And we noticed obviously that the level 1, the rank 1
that is what they should do, because his ultimate is a get out of jail free card. That ability became so OP when they changed that he's immune as soon as you press the button.
Well, cool.
And so it shouldn't do as much damage as it did. So I like that nerf. Good nerf.
Getting
Makes
some
sense.
damage reductions across both Predator and Venomous Bite.
Intelligent.
Yeah.
Scary
now you see, we didn't write dev notes for every single god because it was just going to be a huge thing. And kind of glad I don't have the Arachne there, because having to put in writing that Arachne is OP, I know people would be making fun of me eventually. But instead,
Arachne is a menace in every other.
Believe it or not, Arachne is one of the highest performing gods in the entire game.
In every other rank.
Specifically in Conquest, at all skill levels. She does very well even at high skill levels. It is only in the most organized pro play that she tends to really fall behind, because she can really be countered and focused. But she is just an absolute solo game.
They better not be nerfing hunters.
So we did focus.
They nerfed our items. They better not nerf our gods too.
Her passive, which actually increases her basic attack damage.
Unless it's Medusa. Okay, Medusa.
Relatively
Okay.
large percent
Even
based on
AMC
the
maybe.
opponent's
Yeah,
missing health. So
I
that
wouldn't
just
mind.
makes her basics hit really hard. So this nerf here might look like a small number, but it will really add up. And then Venomous Bite power scaling, because that is a deceptively hard hitting ability as well.
Yeah.
People don't expect it's going to hit them so hard, but it really does hit very hard.
Yeah, and what a lot of people underestimate about Arachne is that she's part spider, which is horrifying. So it just makes sense.
It's the fear factor, right?
Yeah, it is the fear
that's
factor.
an added buff.
Again, mental crits.
And speaking of which,
and speaking of which, for horror, we have Kleena up next, our Halloween champion. Again, just seeing some nerfs kind of across the board. Banshee's Wail, Lurching Claw. And
they just nerfed scaling.
Being brought down a little bit. Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, Kleena's a really interesting one as well, because when she first came out, we saw a lot of people, kind of struggling to do well a little bit.
Complicated.
I think she has a very high skill floor and high skill ceiling. And then we saw, once people got used to her, people maybe started realizing that it's harder and harder to get away from good Kleena.
Thank you, Connor.
Now she's, I think, almost like a perma
one of the top gods
in the SPL.
Definitely.
She's one of the top gods, and it's pretty noticeable that good Kleenas with a bit of damage can do a whole bunch. So we're just hitting a little bit of power scaling on pretty much all of her abilities there. If we need to hit her again sometime in the future, I think that's not a
interesting side note about this one is that it was probably the most requested nerf of why wasn't it in bonus.
Right.
And because we were doing, usually bonus is all the nerfs. but we couldn't put all these nerfs in bonus, and we needed to have the update show. We needed to talk, so we kept most of the nerfs. Obviously, we only shipped 2 nerfs in bonus. And they were the actual what we perceived as the number 1 and number 2 gods in the game, being Shiva and Bastet. Kalina was number 3 though in that analysis.
Yeah, close.
And we kind of discussed shipping her nerf early as well, but we wanted to keep the nerf patch really contained and all together because also we wanted to bring all these gods down together. We didn't really want to see too much shifting over the.
There's only one hunter that should
apologies to those of you
be
who really
nerfed.
called it on the Kalina nerf. You were right. It was coming all along. It was on the way.
That's it.
We
That's
just
the
wanted to
only
keep
god
this
that
patch
needs to be
really
touched.
solid, keep everything together and make a big impact to the game all at once.
I'm
when
so
9.4
nervous.
launches in the GM
AMC
arrives.
maybe.
We still got like 15 gods, 16 gods left to go?
Something like that. So we're going to keep
Let's keep
blazing a
moving.
trail. Next up, Loki. Behind you and Vanish, both getting brought down a little bit. Talk about the Loki. The nerf.
I mean, Clumsy, this is yours.
Yeah, go for it, Clumsy.
I would say.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, no. Oh, I took the end of Kalina, so it is actually mine.
It's up to you.
I mean, Clumsy,
either way.
you know, I know, Danny knows. Loki is
all
a
know.
burst.
15 gods is a
right? That
lot.
is what he does. We slowed
They
him
did
down a little
items,
bit
yeah,
with the
they did
rework,
items
but
already.
he's still very burst defined. He also has some
They
of his
didn't
best
really
meta
touch
performances in
the
last
magical
few months
defense
since his rework,
items,
which I guess has been
right?
over
pretty
a
Like
year
the
now.
magical
Yeah.
hybrid items.
Time is a
I think
flat
they
circle, but
touched.
He's still doing really well. He's getting scaling nerfs to
I don't even know.
Easy.
All right, so this one's for Clumsy. We'll do Tsukuyomi next. Dark Moon Shuriken and Silver Moon Caltrops, both getting hurt, both getting brought down.
Yeah,
Lay it on
keeping concise, Tsukuyomi is one of the assassins that's performing
It hit
quite
Celestial,
well right
wow.
now.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more of like a pub stomper assassin. He can do a lot of his damage from range and then kind of use his ultimate to come in and cement that.
Tsukuyomi
So
there,
a little
interesting.
bit of that, you know, we talked about
Does
how
anyone
we're
even
gonna be
play him?
adjusting power for some of these gods. Tsukuyomi's getting something here where it's adjusting his power because his main poke tool and jungle clear tool with Dark Moon Shuriken is actually going to be increasing its cooldown. 10 seconds is pretty low, and in a meta where it's probably been a while where cooldown is pretty prevalent for assassons, that can get really, really low, especially to late game. And he's getting his range basic attack bonus after that as well. So increasing the cooldown is going to be decreasing his power throughout. And then Silver Moon Caltrops is just going to be the ranged follow-up attack. So similarly talking about those ranged follow-up attacks that Tsukuyomi can gain, it's actually going to be reducing the scaling from that because a 40% hit for a bonus to an ability that already does damage is pretty strong.
Yeah, and there's
true.
a lot of damage there. Plus, those Caltrops are just incredibly hard to deal with.
Legos.
So now we're true Legos. Now we're kind of moving into the hunter area. So we got a couple hunters we're going to talk about. Starting with
boy.
Muzen Cab. So
Okay.
the bee having some reductions
Okay, I
to
don't
both
mind
Swarm
this.
and Stinger. AJ?
Yeah, when you think damage in hunters, this is often one of the first ones that comes to mind. He's been an interesting balance.
Who thinks
target
damage
over the
in
years, 'cause
hunters?
He's often extremely strong, or nobody wants to play him at all. He's currently in the strong section of those two. We're trying to keep him. We're trying to avoid sending him back into the shadow realm like he has been in the past. But we are going to be seeing damage nerf on the Swarm, his key lane clear and key poke ability, as well as the Stinger, which again, kind of like the Zeus change, recently got some new utility.
Yeah.
I have to
Which is
tweet
great.
this.
We're really happy with the way we're introducing some of this new utility to the gods, but it is very important to remove the damage that they were.
Yeah.
Gods who are relying only on damage tend to
I can't
be
believe you
some
said
of the
when you
less
think
fun
of
to play, a
damage
little
in
bit less
hunters.
or more difficult to balance. Introducing new utility and taking out damage is a
Anyway,
great way to make the god more
Swarms,
interesting, more counterplay,
Stinger, decrease
more
physical
unique
buff scale,
applications, but
decrease
that damage
slow.
got to come down.
I mean, okay.
That's what's coming down here, as
This
well
god's
as
annoying.
that slow, which was a new introduction.
This god's annoying, so I don't mind them nerfing
and
annoying
that totally
gods.
makes sense. You want to, if the ability's one hitting, then like, oh, there's no counterplay, there's no
Damage
so,
nerf, CC nerf. Damage nerf, CC nerf.
Boom, good to go. Nerfing all the bugs. Next up, Apollo across the sky, decreasing some physical power.
What?
Yeah, this one's pretty targeted. It's going to be on the ultimate. Obviously, he got a little bit of utility on that a little while back, and
Who
we've noticed
even
that
plays
kind of the difference
Apollo?
between really strong Apollos and really weak Apollos is depending, or in performance, is when you can get multiple channels, multiple ticks of that channel of across the sky, because you're getting the 5% scaling, but it's per tick. If you've ever seen someone get
that hits so hard if you could
crowd
get the
control
whole
or
thing.
anything like that, if you were locked in place
Whatever,
and get hit
man.
by the entire thing, you're being decimated.
At least it's a
So
tiny nerf.
probably pretty fair, bringing down the top.
At
end
least
little bit
it's
of
a
that
tiny
damage from
nerf.
Apollo.
Sounds good. Next up, Puyi, little, what is it, Golden Crow, little brought down, little nerf. AJ?
Yeah, this is a smaller nerf. Ho-Yi
You know what I
saw
hate
a
about
bit
this
of
nerf?
his, showing up in the meta.
You
He
know what I
slowed down a little
hate
bit,
about
but
this nerf,
he's always
chat?
lurking
Is
there.
that
He's
it's a
very good at
nerf
high level and
of
he can do really
Hu-Yi
cool
against
things with
tanks,
Ricochet
okay?
and jungle
It's not a
stuff.
nerf
So,
to Hu-Yi
Mark and
against
Golden
other
Crow actually
squishies.
provides
This
just
is a nerf
just
to
flat
Hu-Yi
damage
against
increase
tanks. Like,
on
why
the
would they
person
touch
who's
this?
blocked, which
Yeah.
a lot of
Touch
people,
his alt damage, his
underestimate
1
the power of
damage,
this
his 3
effect.
damage.
So we're only taking
Why are
you
they
down 1%
touching
per rank, but when you
the
apply
ability
all
that
these
hurts
abilities and
tanks
the duration that the mark lasts on you
the most?
that is
You know what I
effectively
mean?
doing a small basic
That is where we
scaling
struggle.
nerf
We
to his
cannot kill
entire
tanks.
Yeah,
And they're
essentially.
nerfing
Yeah.
the part
So good to
of
see
his
that.
kit
Next up,
that can
Izanami. Been seeing a
deal
lot
with
of
tanks.
Izanami, especially with that skin that dropped. I feel like I'm seeing
Why?
it everywhere. Which
Why not
People
nerf
love that skin. Thank
some
you.
damage
Yeah,
elsewhere?
and we love it too. Glad y'all do as well. But
You know
it's
what I
also
mean?
horrifying because she'll be invisible and then I'll be dead from sickles. So Sickle Storm getting nerfed a little bit.
Yeah, Sickle Storm is, it's an extremely high potent ability with that attack speed that's coming in. Even more so if you start building the Silver Branch bills on her. We saw a lot of,
Why
we
that
saw
ability?
a lot of Izanami, especially
Exactly.
coming in
Yeah.
before the T5. Actually, she was quite a popular god, and even after the T5. But
Storm.
around the time that we were even planning some of these nerfs, she was definitely one that deserved to
sizable
be up
nerf.
there, especially because of her popularity. But we started seeing,
Nerf
SPL
Rama.
coming in, high level ranked coming in, stats coming in, and she was dropping off of favor. In fact, with the SPL, she was played, I think, more so beforehand, and
Much more in season 8 than
and
in season 9.
way,
This
way
is a
less now. So
pretty
she
strong
definitely deserves
nerf
to be on this list.
to
It's
her
a little
steroid.
bit lighter of a nerf.
No
but of course
hunter
you gotta
deserves to be on
incorporate
this
all
list,
the
except
other hunter
Medusa.
item nerfs.
Right.
But that's,
Could
it's
you
She's a little
imagine they
lower
don't
on the
nerf
current
Medusa?
hunter tier list.
They nerf all these gods, but they don't
Next
nerf Medusa, the actual
Next up,
OP
we're
hunter.
gonna have Medusa. Medusa, scary snakes. Getting decreased
there
just
it
a
is.
little bit. Viper Shot and Lacerate both
Yeah,
seeing some
that's
reduction.
perfectly
So for a
fine.
god that's actually on the top of the hunter tier list, you're going to see here more nerfs. You're going to see base and
This is
so
perfectly
base
okay
damage
with
to
me.
Viper Shot
This
as
god
well as
was
attack speed
OP.
on Viper Shot.
Or
the
is
Viper Shot
OP.
attack speed number is huge, and it's a very short. It only applies to those shots, so it
Yeah.
really just kind of connects the combo there. So that's not the most impactful buff, but that nerf, that just number was crazy. But the tick damage is certainly going to add up when you consider that base damage across.
This is a very good
times
nerf.
12
This is a
effectively, because
very
you
good
get about
nerf.
3 ticks times 4 shots.
This god was
And then
beyond
also
broken.
Lacerate being her dash, which has recently got a lot of improvements. Quality of life, being able to hit minions, being able to dash through things, being able to. The anti-heal got moved off it.
Yep.
With that whole
Yeah.
shift and buff, we saw Medusa come way up. So seeing another damage nerf here on Lacerate, which a huge burst combo.
The amount of
Yeah.
damage she
With this,
does
so
is
that's gonna all be
ridiculous.
coming down.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, she definitely dives in on you, and you're like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm at the respawn screen, so I'll just hang out here. Good to see that happen. Next up, we're moving into Guardian territory now. So our Guardians are as well going to see some nerfs, and we're starting with Artio. So the big half lady, half horrifying bear
All right.
monster
All
is
right.
seeing
Not
energy
the worst
surge
thing
and
ever.
heavy charge both being brought down a little bit.
Not the worst thing ever
yeah,
for
with
hunter
Guardians,
nerfs.
like we talked about with the itemization, we've kind of got 2 different types. We've got the support Guardians, and we've
Rip
got the
your
soul
core.
Link. Artio, most recently, actually, is definitely favoring the Solar
Yeah, the
Bruiser
who you nerf was bad.
playstyle. We're going to have those heavy itemization changes like Celestial Legion Helm and Vampiric Crown, which should really help in the meta for Conquest. But of course, we have to keep an eye on what else she can provide in other game modes as well. Artio is definitely one that's up there. We are targeting her base damage across 2 main heavy hitters for her kit. This is going to help her. This is going to hurt her in lane, which is going to help bring her down and her efficacy in lane a little bit more.
Right.
And it's going to be a little bit not as punishing to to battle her out in lane, right? To box her in lane.
Right.
So
Yeah.
hopefully she won't be as frustrating to deal with.
Hopefully. So this next one, I had to cry off the studio for about 20 minutes before I was able to read. Atlas getting a nerf as well. Kinetic charge being brought down. in
You
the
know he
damage a little
deserves
bit.
it. You know
I
it.
know. It still hurts though. So why?
I mean, Guardian's probably one of the most straightforward on the whole nerf patch. Every single one of them is getting base damage nerfs.
Yes.
It's that simple, right? We know we've seen the stats, we've seen the feedback. It's very clear. Some of them also have peppered in a few scaling nerfs if we've been seeing them.
The who you nerf
slowly
is
a little bit.
really
Or
dumb, really
like
out
we're,
of touch.
Spoiler alert: get to Cabrakan at the end, who's building straight up full mage. So there is some scaling nerfs across here, but Atlas specifically this dash ability, doing a lot of damage, bringing that down. I think there was a couple different mobility abilities that we brought down in damage because you're already leaping or dashing. That's pretty strong. We can take down the damage too.
he just wants to get closer to give you a hug. That's all it is.
It's a mighty hug.
If you want to talk Guardian damage, we got the next god is ready to talk.
True, and the next god is Ares, and that Ares is having some shackles damage taken off. So clumsy. Shackles are
I'm
weaker
okay
now.
with this.
Shackles are weaker
See ya,
now.
Ares.
There's
Please,
times
get
where
'em
Ares
out.
gets into the meta. There's times where you can say his flamethrower with the buffs and his ulti is
Yeah.
quite strong. I don't think anyone has ever debated that the Shackles damage
See
of Ares
ya.
is too low. So if we're looking at gods who are
It's
very
straight
strong,
one shots people.
Yeah.
If you just
It's
don't,
crazy.
it's like one of the few abilities
Oh,
in the
yeah,
game that
tank
can. If you
one-shots
hit with all the
people,
chains,
yeah.
and you
hit all
spread
the
them out
refires,
at
Yeah,
the
I
right
heard that
time,
correctly.
always
Yeah.
remember to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can actually one shot.
Yes.
I mean, I love to do it. I think
That's very
I think
accurate.
Ares
Yeah.
likes to do it.
It's a long, it's a really slow one shot, but I guess it still counts.
It does.
So yeah, Ares is one of the gods who, again, looking at all the metrics, looking at what's popular right now. what's
Should that
strong,
ever be
Ares
said
is
about a
hit,
tank,
and that's
bro?
probably gonna be a pretty hard hit for him.
This tank's
Yeah,
a regular
I can't say
ability
it's not
can
deserved.
or
Not going
one
to hurt
shot.
his laning too much though, because he's got a unique
Right.
minion damage. It's
Yeah.
just as
Should that
speedy.
ever be
Which
said?
is really good for him.
Yeah, so no more insanely slow one-shotting hunters. So next up we have Bacchus, Intoxicate, also seeing some decrease, if you want to get into that, AJ.
Yeah, this is the Guardian nuke, right? This one hits real hard, so we're getting just
Real hard, real fast.
base and scaling coming down on this one, just a noticeable amount. 40 damage at max rank. That's a pretty significant nerf. These are a lot of these nerfs are bigger nerfs than you might see in a normal patch as well. You don't usually see a 40
base damage.
No. I mean, like we said, we're shooting for
That's
the
a big nerf.
We heard y'all. We want to give y'all what y'all want. We're really getting into it. Next up, this one was teased 4 seconds ago. Cabrakan, Seismic Crush, Tectonic Shift, both seeing some nerfage.
Yeah. I'll be honest. When we were having our meetings, we were talking about different guards that could be hit.
Yeah.
Cabrakan's one of those who I was like, okay, we were talking about Cabrakan, maybe it's a solo bruiser, and then I wasn't even sure how much he deserved. We looked at the stats, we looked at his SPL performance, and okay, he is on the list. We're seeing him mostly picked as a jungler right now. We're seeing a little bit of maybe solo, a little bit of support, but yeah, I think he absolutely deserves to be on this list.
Healing will be stronger damage
two different spots
for
with
sure.
Seismic Crush and the Tectonic Shift. All base.
I'd say that's just a natural thing.
Scaling 70%,
Natural
60%.
occurrence,
I think
that
it's totally
healing will
fine
be
for a
stronger.
Guardian, even if it's a bruiser one.
Right.
And he might need more nerfs after watching the SPL.
Yeah, he's been really good.
Yeah, the damage output recently has been insane, so I'm honestly happy to see it. Last but not least, on the Guardian section, we're going to have Cerberus, Paralyzing Spit, also seeing a little bit of nerfage.
Yeah, Cerberus may be a little bit towards the lower end of the tier list of what would be making the cut to get nerfed today, but Paralyzing Spit is one of the single hardest hitting burst abilities on a Guardian.
Yeah.
Hitting with all 4 hits. A lot of people think of 3, but they forget about the little snake. That's the 4th hit.
That last
It's actually 4. So it hits very hard. So
it does hit very hard.
And we already went ahead and did the math for you. It's actually 28 damage flat if you get hit by all 4 hits.
Yeah. And there you go. We even do math on this show. So
Sometimes.
It's incredible. Sometimes, yeah. Don't hold us to that.
We do a lot of math. We're game designers. We just don't talk about it. It's not very fun.
Yeah. Mostly because, talking about it's painful and hard, and I don't have enough fingers. So the final thing that we're going to talk about in the God section is actually, it's a rework. It's just a rework. I'm just going to lay it out there. Erlang Shen having a lot of changes made, kind of continuing this trend of trying to see what we can change on a bit grander of a scale in these updates. And I'm just going to let AJ take it away.
Yeah, so I might be referencing my notes here bit by bit, so apologies, because this is normally for a God rework, we write out a very long blog post that explains a lot of our reasoning and our goals.
Yeah.
You can find that all on the patch notes on the patch notes document. Shout outs to our recent design acquire Hi-Res Aggro, who worked on this very heavily and worked with me quite a bit on it and worked with me on this messaging. So great job. Feel free to contact him for your feedback and praise or complaints.
Praise.
Erlang Shen has had an interesting history in Smite. He was considered a little underwhelming by the general player base. He eventually found his pro footing in a variety of different roles, in a variety of different metas, where he was just the best god in his category, depending on the time and place.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much never in the solo lane.
It's probably because he has 3 forms of AoE CC.
Is just the way the community perceives.
Could be.
We like flex gods. We want to continue to encourage flex gods, but specifically, why do we want to rework Erlang Shen?
Yeah.
And that is because he has pretty much shown over the last 2+ years of SPL data that he is one of the top junglers, and he tends to push out a lot of other junglers out of the meta. He was the number 3 most banned god in the Season 9 kickoff tournament, number 5 most banned god in SWC Season 8. He also had extremely high priority pick and bans in the beginning of just the few weeks of the actual Season 9 SPL splits. So he's clearly up there for priority in pro play. However, his popularity in normal conquest is towards the bottom pack, number 77 out of 119.
Yeah, wow.
So he's really, really popular in the pro meta, but players still aren't picking him up. That's usually a good sign for a character for a rework.
Yeah.
He also way overperforms in his flex role. So generally, we love flex. We like flex.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not believe us. We're going to try to earn your trust back to prove you that we do like flex. But Erlang Shen was boasting over a 4% win rate increase in jungle over solo or support, which is a huge difference. That's a really big buff. Trying to get those back. Really, the main goal of the rework today is to bring down his jungle a little bit, bring up his solo a little bit. We don't want to kill his jungle.
No,
we just want to bring it down and shift it over. So how are we going to do that? We want to incentivize players to max the spot weakness ability. This ability makes him really good solo laner because you're boxing. You're hitting a lot of basic attacks.
You're boxing.
We also are going to make the 72 transformations less of priority. He's going to be seeing a significant
decreased bonus damage per hit.
The loss of his CC
physical
on the turtle form. That is being removed.
Another applies a stacking debuff to enemy gods hit by this abilities, which reduce their damage output.
We know that is a huge nerf to a god, so with Erlang Shen removing a CC and adding a significant...
Erlang Shen now knocks up
it'll be a
and
good experiment.
slow immune while he's transforming into either animal. He gains
so much going on.
15% movement speed
so
4
many
seconds
nodes.
after dash complete.
I mean, I'll go over the quick TLDR now of the kit itself. So Howling Celestial
This
Dog is
ability
going to
no
do
longer
less
knocks enemies up.
flat damage,
Shield health
but
change.
more damage based on target's max health. So
Yeah.
better
Okay.
anti-tank.
No
Better for
knockup.
being against
Okay,
enemies.
that's fine
Yeah.
then.
Spot weakness is going to have less
Reduce
bonus damage
damage,
and less bonus damage scaling significantly, so
damage.
weaker power.
Target's maximum
But
health.
it's going to get a new component where it now gives Erlang Shen lifesteal, so sustain and solo lane.
Yeah.
And applies a stacking debuff that reduces the opponent's power,
Okay.
which is really cool. Or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, damage output.
damage
not
output. Yeah, damage output, yeah.
So this lets him actually cause opposing warriors to deal less damage. So he can even.
Oh,
use it as a
because
heal
he's gonna
feature.
hit
There are a lot of
warriors in
ways you
team
can do
fights.
this. Boxing feature.
Oh, he's
more
gonna
utility.
hit warriors
Exactly.
in
Much more
team.
utility. 72 transformations is now going to be knockup immune and slow immune while dashing. That's
Yes,
just going to make
dude.
it a better dash, more consistent.
Wow,
dash.
great
You can do
thought.
things like that
Wow,
across the
I
game
forgot
unless
he's gonna
there's
hit
one
warriors
situation.
in the team
It's also
fights.
a little bit more comparative points to like some Wukong
Yes.
with similar things depending on which transformation he's in.
Right. Mink form is getting a buff now where it's going to get bonus movement speed. So if you do want to be aggressive and get that attack speed, you'll also get the movement speed. So
The only
you can
thing I
really
like
stick
so
on
far
the
is that
target,
his knockup
land
is
stretch and
removed.
basic attacks.
Wait, what was
Turtle
that?
is losing the knockup, the biggest nerf of the whole rework.
True.
And
Did
instead
something
it's
else
gonna
get a
gain
knockup?
Protection scaling on the shield. So it's going to get a bigger base shield, and that shield is going to continue to get bigger if you buy protection items. So if you actually go full like damage Erlang or hybrid Erlang, you're going to be getting less shield health from this. And then finally, 9 turns blessing is getting increased damage mitigation just to make him a little bit tankier during assault. So a lot of changes, a lot of shifts.
Yeah.
All over this kit. We really want to see people, one, just be more interested in trying this god in the first place.
Of course.
2, we want to see him try in multiple roles. We fully expect.
So
him
he's
to
gonna
keep
have a
playing in
shield,
something. That's
and then
great.
he's gonna
We think he'll
lower
be
the
a little
carry's
less
damage
damage
output
but
by
hopefully we can see him show up in
7%
solo or support as well.
with a big ass shield.
Wow. That was a lot. I mean,
Nice.
that was so many things.
It was.
Wait,
We were
increased
sitting around
damage
beforehand, like, man, we're not gonna be
mitigation.
able to talk tomorrow.
68 or something. I forgot to actually add it up. Total nerfs.
Yeah, again, math on the show. only happens
Increased
sometimes.
damage mitigation.
All on the update notes live now. Go check it out. I mean, again, just a huge amount of nerfs. We wanted to touch everything.
Bruh.
We wanted to do everything we could to, take the feedback that we've been getting about.
Double-sided.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are double-sided.
Yeah.
This dude is gonna be the tankiest mother effer
phenomenal.
in these team fights.
So
We're
yeah,
not
that's
gonna be able to
end
kill
the
him.
9-4 nerf section. So
How are we supposed to kill this
all
guy?
Of that actually coming out next week. As I'm sure a lot of y'all know, we're in a new schedule right now.
Yeah,
so you'll be looking
exciting.
forward to this update coming out next week on Tuesday.
So soon. So excited.
Right around the corner. You'll be able to get to all of this stuff right away. I mean, the countdown starts now essentially, but look
How are we
forward to all
supposed
of that,
to?
'cause we're excited to
He's
share
getting
it. We're excited to see
20%
y'all get into
mitigation.
this. Now we're moving into community news.
Debuffs us
No nerfs in
7%
community news
damage
this time, so
output
we can take
and a big
nerf
ass shield.
breather. So first up, I just want to remind y'all about the Prime Gaming skins that are currently available. Currently, Rambo Uller is available for claim.
And
through Prime
Berserker
Gaming,
Shield
so make sure that
exists,
y'all
too.
are going and claiming that skin. We're super excited about it.
Okay.
We've loved this, and we love to see it in game. Following that, though, is actually we're gonna show y'all guys something new. A new Prime Gaming skin will be coming soon after the glorious Rambo.
So
And that's going to
21%.
be
Oh, yeah, bro.
Shredder Ravana, Super Shredder Ravana. So we're excited to show that off. That'll be available May 5th. And yeah, it's another brand new Ninja Turtle skin that, again, we're just all extremely excited about. Oh, look at him. I absolutely love it. That like dark color palette is so good. So super excited. We're excited to have this in game. And it'll be available May 5th. My brain is like fried from all the nerfing. SPL
Could
news
you
is also
imagine
something
if
that
he
we're gonna
went,
have
like,
more of, and that's just
mannequins
SPL going.
too,
It's
that
rocking
also,
on.
like,
Make sure y'all are
debuffs
catching
your
the
attack
games. It's been
speed?
super exciting. Glad to have
Holy
SPL back
smokes.
because, I mean, what else do you turn on while you're chilling in the afternoons on the weekend? There's nothing else. It's constantly Twitch, constantly SPL games, and I'm super excited that we're able to have all of that back. And next is actually kind of a big thing. So we put out a blog about this as well as the update notes today, so y'all
This
can get
patch
into it
was,
now. But the Smite standalone launcher
like,
is
half decent,
we're
half
waving it goodbye with
awful.
update 9.4. For those of you who don't know, that the launcher has been unavailable for a long time now, so people haven't been able to download it. You could still use it if you had it originally or had never uninstalled it, but it is going away as of 9.4. It's not going to be updated anymore. So if you are using that, make sure you hop over to one of the other platforms. This isn't going to affect anything for the other
decent
platforms.
part,
So Steam.
you know,
Epic Games
anytime
Store,
they nerf a
Amazon
tank, I
Internet,
say it's
you'll be able
decent,
to
you know what I
play through
mean?
all of that. But,
That's why I gotta
with
give. I
9.4
have to say
update,
decent.
You will no longer be able to use the standard.
Yeah, at least they did nerf some tank items and some
with
tanks.
With the my brain just lost. Account sharing between accounts. You have nothing to worry about as long as your accounts are linked up. Everything is going to be available on any of the other PC platforms. So just make sure that you link those accounts up. But again, the standalone launcher is seeing its final goodbye with update 9.4. So for those of you who have used it, wish it a wonderful farewell. And we'll be excited to see all of y'all join on Steam, Epic Games Store, or Amazon Luna. So with that, we're going to rotate